The area that is now Rudder-Hess Reservoir has always had water flowing through it. The concept to capture that surface water during wet periods so it could be used during drier times started in 1991. In March of 2012, the dam was completed, but the water in that area has been a life source for people and communities for thousands of years.
So a lot of times people will look at this reservoir and they see the pretty lake and they understand that it's there to help us meet our water demands. But it's revealed a great history, our American history of the area. My board and I feel that it's important to capture this information, this history that we discovered building the reservoir. And it's important not only for today's residents, but it's important for future residents and even our Native American partners to be able to come to a place and see where their history started.
2 Native American tribes are collaborating with the Parker Water and Sanitation District as part of the required environmental impact statement for building the dam and any other water infrastructures. The Northern Arapaho tribe is located on the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. The Northern Cheyenne, now on a reservation in Montana. But both have long, rich histories as the original inhabitants of North America.
That we now call Colorado, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, all of the 50 states, because there were numerous tribes that roamed the plains.
We're known as a mother tribe from other branches of our people. We lived a life of nomadic forces. Always moving. They were nomadic warrior. People feared them because there were so many of them. They're all over the middle part of the United States.
The people of the First Nations, as I like to call them, they were very smart people. They were very attuned to their environment because they had to be. That's how they lived.
See, they moved with the migration with the animals and the migration of these roots, plants, harvested different leaves from different trees for tea or soup, for medicine, wherever they went.
We weren't great consumers. We would only take from the land what we needed. We took an animal, we took a plant, we took water. We used every last bit of it. We never wasted anything. What we have is only momentary. Stuff we have is temporary. We don't hold it as sacred as they used to. What you would find on the earth, whether it be, a ceremonial bag, an arrowhead, or even stone tools for that matter, those were what they had. They made those and they cherished them because that was their means of survival. So that's why they're sacred to us. That's why they're important.
They look at it as not only their history, but American history. It was interesting to hear them talk about how important it was for us to find and document the information, and they've been working with us as partners to do that.
Well, our belief is this. You got to preserve your history so you'll know where you're coming from. And that'll give you a direction where you want to go.
Right now, Parker Water is going forward with projects that will help ensure water in the future, not only for the town of Parker, but also for several surrounding areas. By law, tribal cultural specialists will be on site during any ground-disturbing construction phase within 500 feet of an area that has been deemed by archaeologists as culturally significant.
We're happy to do it. We're proud to do it. And even if it weren't a requirement or a law, I really think that we would spend the time and the money to do it anyway, just to understand the history that surrounds our water resource.
This whole area is kind of all cultural, sacred to where we used to live.
But the process of looking for and finding historically relevant artifacts on the ground or in the dirt that is being moved can be time-consuming and can feel problematic.
It has the potential to be frustrating, and I think some people could make it even more frustrating. But with enough coordination and enough respect given to both the cultural specialist who's on site and the actual people who are doing the work, if they just communicate properly, it can go really smoothly and it doesn't have to be a hindrance to a project.
The significance just needs to be understood.
And it makes a lot of sense why people are drawn here, both back then and even now. People want to be in this area.
You don't find very many that don't see the necessity for saving these sites and these things. You don't find very many. By and large, the overwhelming majority of people enjoy knowing about what happened where they are now.
That's where we had ceremonies, and that's where our people sacrificed, and that's where they left remnants of us being there. And I felt like that is the most important because it's the earliest history of this nation, and a majority of the time it's ignored.
And it's like white people, they came from overseas. They wasn't. This is our land right here. We're the first ones over here in the United States.
These people were here before us. They were here before our parents came here, before our grandparents and our grandparents' grandparents. They were here before Plymouth Rock and before the Vikings discovered North America. They were here way before that. So we should be vested in that history as well.
My ancestors were fighters. We were on this land as strong nations, as unified people. They were so strong in their beliefs that they did everything they could to preserve it. To let their children know, don't ever forget who we are.
I look around how we're living today, especially with the young children. We're losing our traditional ways. We're losing those, how we used to live.
There's very few of us elders left that know about a little bit about our history and stuff. I think it would be a good idea for our young people, especially the young people, to look into these objects or the background behind them.
Boxes full of artifacts have already been found and are being documented, curated, and stored. Many are also on display, describing what the item is and what it was most likely used for. A tiny clay effigy of an animal was a major find in one of the Ruder Hess sites during excavations. The Northern Cheyenne that were on site called it Oshkus, for dog.
The size of the Oshkus is about the size of a thumb. It's very small. It's made of clay. I like to think it was maybe a child's toy. During this time period, the ceramics that were generally made were for useful things like pots for cooking, not for fun. So that's what makes the little Oshkus very unique.
What's more important about the Hess site, however, is that they found what we call basin houses, basically pit structures in which people lived. And to my knowledge, at this point in time, they're the oldest pit structures or basin houses that are found in eastern Colorado. We found a variety of sites, and sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to interpret them correctly. One of these sites that we found is this arc of large stones that you can see. And sites such as this, we often interpret as being important or sacred to Native American tribes.
We see a teepee ring or stone circle, then you know there's probably connections around the area. I'll look at the time of the year. A lot of entrances will be facing east.
Elders or people of the tribe would have conducted important ceremonies inside, which is why I'm staying outside of the circle.
The whole top of this area was just kind of cleared for construction.
When an archaeologist looks at a landscape, he sees things on a landscape. But to a native tribal resource specialist, they're looking at how those things are all tied together.
Because every time archaeologists will go out there, they'll find things, that's not pertaining to us. And then when we're out there, we find things that they don't find. So that way we're there side by side, same day, instead of working separate.
The most important or sensitive site found at the Rooter-Hess Reservoir project was 3 or 4 rock mounds next to a drainage area.
We consulted with the Native Americans, and they interpreted these mounds to be burial mounds. And we accepted that interpretation, and these burial mounds will be protected in place so that they are not disturbed by anything or anybody.
Another mound of rocks found in a different area near the dam was also identified.
It measures about 6 feet long by 4 feet wide, which would be about the perfect dimensions for a grave. We believe it is a burial of a settler, early settler or pioneer.
An important clue for it being a settler's grave is the wooden cross that was found at the site, which has since been moved to the protection of a nearby bush.
We're interested not in just the most ancient sites, we're also interested in the more recent historic sites, anything that's at least 50 years or older.
A fun rock formation was given the nickname the Rest Area by the settlers and ranchers around Rooter-Hess. But the majority of sites found date back to the ancient Native Americans.
Yeah, these places of historical significance to us. The remnants of our past, of why we're still here today.
It's really important to help our kids know where they made history.
The past has something to do with the future, and the future has something to do with the past. It all ties back together.
And if you don't protect the past, then the future is unknown.
We've put together a publication that talks about what we found, and our archaeologists have sewn a story together and what they think happened over the last 10,000 years. So that is out there, and we will continue to update that. And we like to continue to produce videos to keep our customers aware of what's going on.
You can also see many of the items on Douglas County's website at douglas.co.us. by typing in Virtual History Museum in the search bar. And if you're still not sure why all of this matters, the words of American author Terry Tempest Williams sum it up beautifully.
Artifacts are alive. Each has a voice. They remind us what it means to be human. That it is our nature to survive, to create works of beauty, to be resourceful, to be attentive to the world we live in. That's why we do it.